Okay, welcome to the Spartan 24 tutorial video series. This is what I believe we will call tutorial 0. Essentially what we'll do will be to introduce 3 menus that can be found in the upper right hand corner of the Spartan user interface. They're in the upper right corner of the menu bar, or for Linux and Windows users, the extreme upper right corner of the interface. And these are the help menu, followed by the options menu, and then finally we will also look at the activities menu. Okay, so we won't cover everything in each one of the menus, but we'll cover enough to get you started, and these are things you should probably be aware of before you begin the actual tutorials. So let's figure out which version we're using. This is Spartan 24, but to determine the actual version, let's go to the help menu, and from the help menu, let's look at About Spartan 24. It's the bottom entry in the help menu. For Macintosh users, About Spartan 24 is located under the Spartan 24 menu in the upper left corner of the user interface by convention. Okay, with the About box open, let's take a look towards the top. You'll see this is version number 1.3.0. If you see an earlier version, 1.2.0, 1.1.1, something earlier, you should go to another location in the help menu called Check for Updates, and I'll show you that now. So we'll close the About box, we'll go to the help menu, and just above the About Spartan 24, you'll see there's this Check for Updates entry. That will run a local heuristic and compare the version you have installed with what's available on our website. If we have something newer, we will make you aware of it and point you to our website. We don't automatically update you, so this is not an automatic update. I'll click the button, but it's not terribly demonstrative on my machine. It just says I have installed version 1.3.0 and the latest is 1.3.0, so I don't need to do anything. If you're running an older version, please update to 1.3.0, and if not, let's continue. Under the help menu, let's hit the primary entry, which is help, and then Spartan 24 help. Okay, so help menu, Spartan 24 help. Okay, this is HTML and opens a pane on the left-hand side. Let me zoom in just a bit to make this easier to see. This is ostensibly a topic-based set of HTML documents. So it covers a wide range of topics, from changes and improvements over the previous version to full release notes, general operating features, a set of computational FAQs, frequently asked questions. So let me just highlight those in the middle. And from among those, let me just point out one item in particular. Towards the bottom, you'll see an entry called keywords. In Spartan, calculations are set up via a calculations dialog, and when customers want options or want the availability of ways to permute the underlying calculations, those are available via keyword type-in, and a list of those is available under this keywords document. This is essentially organized via topic, and the topics are the different calculation options in the calculations dialog. And you'll see there'll be a keyword off to the left, a description of what the keyword does, and then a default value if one is applicable. Okay, enough about that. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but just want to point out that it's at the bottom of the frequently asked questions section. This is something that's reasonably commonly asked. Okay, so Spartan 24 help, HTML files available from the help menu, and it's the initial entry, Spartan 24 help. Let's go immediately under that to the Spartan 24 manual. Spartan 24 manual is a PDF file. Let me also zoom in a little bit on this. And this is another, let's see, 700 or so pages, 695 pages, but maybe, I don't know, 650 pages of content. It's broken down into 5 sections, a set of appendices, and then a glossary. So the 5 sections are right up front a set of new feature tutorials. So if you're an experienced Spartan user, if you've used Spartan 20 or a previous version, definitely jump in to the new features section right towards the beginning. This will cover all of the tutorials we put together to demonstrate the new neural network models. So anything that's using a machine learning model will demonstrate how to get to those methods and give some practical demonstrations of those in tutorial style. Okay, that's section 1 up front. For everyone else who hasn't played with Spartan before, the place to start is really the section 2, is operations and overview. It's worth reading through operating Spartan, although I think you're going to get enough of that throughout the tutorials that that's not necessarily the case that you have to review it, but it's probably worth skimming this. I will leave you at the end of this video with this tutorial walking through Spartan, and we'll pick that up and do that again next time. Walking through Spartan will essentially open a set of pre-calculated molecules and walk through the interface, highlighting different menu items and pointing to where different things are found. So this is a good introduction to the software. Following the walking through, we have section 3, which is a set of introductory tutorials that talk about building in 2D, building in 3D, how to access calculated properties from the Spectra and Properties database, which is included with Spartan 24, and also how to submit those same calculations from Spartan 24. So the first calculation is actually done down here at the bottom of the introductory tutorials in chapter 7. Okay, section 4 follows, and this is a set of advanced tutorials, topic-based, maybe more narrowly focused, but also a little bit longer in the number of steps and the amount of computational time that some of these take as well. These will probably be available, at least some of these, as videos, but they are quite lengthy, so I don't think we'll put some of the longer ones on. But in any event, this is where the advanced tutorials are. Section 5 is features and functions, which is basically a tour through the interface via the menus. And we'll go over every menu item and sort of define its function. And if there's any confusion on this, you should reach out to support@wavefund.com. This is essentially a description of the program specs. So we saw section 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all tutorials. These will be accessible from the activities menu and the tutorials entry as individual PDFs as well. I'll show you that in a minute. After the features and functions section, there's a set of appendices, and I'll just highlight the first one, the computational topics. This is about 110, 115 pages of computational essays, essentially that cover the underlying math used from the calculations dialog, the underlying math used in Spartan and QChem. So a good place for sort of foundational essays and background. This is available via topic from the activities menu under the topics entry. And again, I'll show that towards the end as well. And then at the very end, there's a glossary of terms, probably 30 or so pages worth of computational terms defined. Okay, so the manual is available as a PDF, and that is accessible from the help menu. It's the second entry down, Spartan 24 manual. Okay, we've looked at the About box. We looked at a little bit at the check for updates feature. We don't need to go into the license utility. You've already licensed your version, or it could be a demo, but you've activated one way or another. So let's jump into the options menu, and we'll talk about maybe the reason my version looks maybe slightly a little bit different than yours does. So let's go options menu, and before we even go into that, I will point out my menus are set up in a button pad format, and we'll see that in just a minute. Button pad. This is a preference for Windows and a preference for Linux. It's not a preference under Macintosh. But if you go to the options menu, preferences, by default you actually should drop into the settings tab. I had something open just a moment ago, so we came in on a different tab. But under the settings tab towards the upper left, you'll see next to menus, button pad. The other option is classic. I think button pad may now be the default, at least as I said, for Windows and Linux users. It's just a different presentation style. It actually makes the targets a little bit bigger and makes the menu items a little bit larger. It helps for presenting from my perspective. It's also what you want to use if you have a touch device because it definitely makes the targets larger. I also have my icons set to the largest size possible. That's just for the purpose of the presentation, and it's called Jumbo. So there's about 5 or 6 or 7 different sizes, and this is the largest, and that's just for presentation purposes. So those two things are maybe different than your version. And one other item towards the middle, there's a set of features called miscellaneous, and underneath that, one of those says gradient. This refers to the background. So I have gradient turned on. Let me turn that off and show you. It will essentially put a flat color on as the background. I think this is the default sort of a seafoam green color. And I just have the gradient turned on. You can also change the background color. That's in a different location, but is also under the options menu. I'll point to that in just a moment. Okay, so gradient, the button pads, different size icons. Let me point to one other piece with regard to icons. You can see at present there are only a few icons highlighted. That's because we don't have anything open in Spartan. If I were to begin to build something or open a file, everything else will open up. I can just show you that with the new build, to sort of enter the build mode. You see the remaining icons will highlight. But with regard to icons under preferences, in addition to the size that I have set to jumbo, there's a set of icons that are displayed by default. And I would suggest that the default displayed is probably just fine. But if you are working through Spartan and you find with your own workflows that you're constantly going to a location in a menu item and you wish that it was available as an always-on icon, go into the icons section of the preferences dialog and turn that icon on permanently. I think, for example, that the minimize icon may not be turned on permanently. It's always on at the bottom of the builders in the 3D space, but it may not be turned on permanently. So I have that turned on. There may be some other differences, but I can't tell you what they are off the top of my head. But I will tell you that the options menu, preferences, and then the icons tab is where you can go and customize your icons. Okay, so under the options menu, there are just 2 other places I want to point to quickly, and those were colors. Let's change the background color, and by default, it's sort of this greenish color. I do have a gradient turned on. Let me just pick a blue color and see what that looks like, or a reddish color to see what that looks like. Just keeping it the same as the default, I'll click the restore button and go back. This is how I keep mine. It doesn't matter what you want to pick for your background color. And when you save graphics, you can choose to make the background transparent anyway. So you don't need to take the background color with you unless you want it. Okay, so colors are available there. The only other piece that's different on mine, I have the default color on, but I have gradient turned on. Also under the options menu, I have my fonts are at a bigger size. Fonts, I have mine set at 16, and I think the default is 10. And I've just done that so they'll appear bigger in the presentation as well, so it'll be easier to see. So those should be the only differences from the defaults, but if anything else looks a little off, please leave a comment or email at support@wavefun.com. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead and jump from the options menu to the final menu to review, which was the activities menu. We're really just going to touch on 2 places in here. You can get to topics, you can get tutorials from either dialog. This is essentially a topics and tutorial combo dialog. So if I click tutorials, it opens this dialog, which is basically a sort of 2-page, 2-tab table of contents. Let me make this a little bit larger so we can see it. So for example, under a new feature, tutorials, these are all PDFs, individual PDFs, exactly the same that we saw from the manual, but these are just individual PDF files intended to be worked through one at a time. Okay? So that's where the tutorials can be found. The topics are also in the same location, just under the topics tab. And the topics are the computational topics that I referenced earlier from the Appendix A in the manual. So potential energy surfaces, the theoretical models that are used in Spartan, just a host of computational topics. And these are all essays and available as individual PDFs. Okay? All right, so that covers the 2 places in the activities menu that we most often spend time in. I want to mention the very final piece at the bottom, which says YouTube videos. That's probably where you found this. If not, maybe you were emailed this link. But there will be additional YouTube videos here, so check back. We will work through at least the introductory tutorials and probably selections from the advanced tutorials, and have other user questions posted to the video channel as well. Okay, so with that, I will leave you as I suggested under the activities menu tutorials, and we'll go to walking through Spartan, chapter 2, walking through Spartan, and this is where we'll pick things up with the next video.